Yahweh willing, most people listen to this message and listening to Yahweh and asking what Yahweh gonna do will get some type of salvation. But there's millions of people out there who don't have a clue what any of this is about. And everybody gonna be held accountable on that dreadful day.
That is a bit disturbing, but it's the way it is. So that goes into the video talking about what it's like to be around non-humans. All right, so anyway, make sure I touched on everything here. Triple aphasia, we got that. Perpetual motion. That's going to be it, folks. All right, so this is just something to kind of put on there that Jason Quick kind of got me to talking about. He said he was going to contact in the desert, which was a few days ago, and talked about this. So I actually let him use a couple of these photographs so he can kind of represent that. But I think this is serious, and the temporal aphasia that stops us from remembering actually being on board some of these craft physically. So it's just something I wanted to touch on a little bit, and how some of the inside of these craft are temporally displaced, causing temporal aphasia. The inside and outside of the craft are not in the same dimension. So this really says a lot to what it means to be on board a multidimensional ship. Please subscribe on Patreon. All right, I want to build my Patreon audience a little bit so I can do more YouTube videos. But right now I need more people on Patreon. There's a lot of videos on there. There's almost 40 videos on there actually, and not many of them have I released to YouTube. So check me out there, please. A lot of information there. I also like communicating with people more there. Hoping to see people, a few people at the SETI soon. I'll probably release this video before I go there. So anyway, much power and much energy. Peace.
So that's Barry Littleton. You guys can look him up, and I'll provide a link. Thank you for that, Barry. Appreciate it. So now we have some footage from Boogeyman channel. And this is some incredible footage right here, Israel. And the Most High God of Israel is allowing this footage to come out at this time, because Boogeyman had this footage many years ago, but then he lost it and then he found it again. This is incredible right here, Israel. This is the handiwork of our Father. And that's the way that Boogeyman put it. This is actual footage of the firmament. Let's get into it.
When I first lay eye on this collection of video clips by UFO Vini, it was 2 or 3 years ago. And at first, the importance I thought about these clips was that they were some of the most amazing UFO videos I had ever seen, that they had proved cloaking technology. Technology that hides itself within our visual spectrum or just outside of it. As a lot of you know, we have a very small visual spectrum, so a lot of light sources and frequencies can easily cloak itself right in front of our eyes. I lost these video clips. I couldn't find the source. So when I finally did find them, after looking for 2 or 3 years straight, not only were they the most amazing UFO video clips I've ever seen, but they were also the most amazing observational evidence and proof of the firmament and in the materials that it's built from that I have ever seen and that you will ever see. The firmament is one of the most highly debated topics in the Bible and beyond of our time and generation. Practically every day, I hear someone submitting proof to the masses in their eyes and ears about the firmament and its existence and the legitimacy of it. And in reply to those proofs and those presentations, the same question always pops up, and that's, do you have video proof of it? Well, the firmament is something that science, religion, theologians, and even crossovers have all agreed on. There's definitely something enclosing our system, something responsible for stopping us from traveling into other dimensions, other times of planes, and other existence. Now, I didn't know about the firmament when I started down this path. I had no idea. All I knew was something wasn't right. And as we looked into the night sky or even the daytime sky, the color variations and differences from day to night are something that can't be ignored. But as I looked into the night sky, I knew that there was something different, something strange and odd about the black of the night sky. In the Bible, it says that the rakia, which is the Hebrew word for firmament, meaning something firm and solid, something impenetrable. Others will debate that, and that's fine. This is a topic of discussion. But it says that the rakia is the proof of the Creator, his handiwork, if you will. Psalms 19:1, heavens declare the glory of God. The firmament sheweth his handiwork. Meaning, if you can spot the firmament, then you know that this is a simulation created by an omnipotent presence. Whether he's pure light and love, whether he is an all-powerful white man with a white beard floating on a cloud, that's really up to you. That's not why we're here today. Why we're here today is to show you proofs that these UFOs are easily coming and going, weaving themselves behind and in front of the stars like it's their job. In this clip right here, you can easily see that these UFOs have disappeared within the night sky. Now, it's not because it's dark. It's not because they're having trouble getting reflected light and bounced light from the sun itself. It's happening because they are escaping into the ether. Now, you've heard this word before, ether. Is ether plasma? Is it a wind? Is it a water? Is it a gas? Or is it something in between? Just like plasma. Plasma is the perfect mixture of a gas, water, and a solid. It is the fourth state of matter, as it should be. Maybe ether is just a lot like antimatter or black goo. It's just another term that's been translated through the years in order to describe plasma, the fourth state of matter. This is something that's up for debate. It's something that I am not capable of answering. But sticking to the topic at hand, I've shown you numerous clips right now from UFO Vini that have clearly shown that these UFOs are weaving, coming and going out of our impenetrable barrier with ease. Is it because they're built for it, or is it because it may not be impenetrable? We're going to get much closer and much clearer on this material. Like you, I want to fully understand this stuff. I want to understand what makes something impenetrable, but yet there are certain wavelengths, certain materials, and certain instruments on these UFOs that are allowing them to come and go as they please. Now, I've always heard that our closest star was somewhere around 400 trillion light years away. Now, we've watched these UFOs come in front and then behind two very close stars to one another. Now, let's just imagine for a second that these stars really are distant suns and distant planets, right? But each one is just like ours, and their closest star is something like 4 trillion light years away, right? Well, they just reached 4 trillion light years within milliseconds. Not even 1 second, they were able to weave in and out of somewhere around 4 to 6 different stars, distant suns, distant planets. Trillions of miles were covered in less than a second. Now, you know me and you know how I feel about space. You know that I'm not buying this shit until it can be repeatable and proven. But I just wanted to bring out some math and some of the mainstream proofs and sciences that and data that have been released to us our entire lives. Now, these are things that are common knowledge to a lot of people. But this right here is a very important clip. Pay attention. Notice how that UFO just came straight out of the black of the sky. Now, I don't think it phased into our existence. I believe that it just came from outside of our enclosed system and went to the inside.
And he's exactly right there, Israel. That's how the electromagnetic firmament plasma system works. It's based on frequency and vibration. So if something of the correct frequency and vibration comes up to it, it okays it to come through. It's allowed to come through. If it's something too dense, if it's vibrating on the wrong frequency and vibration, it repels it. It does not allow it to go through. And that's how the Most High God of Israel keeps all this wickedness enclosed and keeps Esau and their missiles and all their wickedness inside the firmament. They do not have the correct frequency and vibration to pass through it. These highly evolved beings, like I said in a past video, they can come and go as they please because they have the authority from the Most High God of Israel to do this. And they're coming here in armadas right now to witness this ceremony that's going on right now, this 3,000-year ceremony that's coming to an end. Of course, some of them have jobs to do, and some of them are just here to be a part of the ceremony or to be there on standby. If Yahweh needs them to do something, they're there. You know, they all communicate telepathically, and the way that they view things is much different than the way we view things. They can see things many levels deep. They can see through solid matter, solid objects. There's nothing Esau's doing that they can't see. They see everything going on, you know, underground, all the military bases. They see everything on all levels. So you can't look at things the way we see it and superimpose that on how these highly evolved spiritual beings can see things. You know, it's just incomprehensible, the technology that we're talking about here, Israel. I don't really want to get into all that because I'm just trying to keep us focused on this moment in time right here and these beings that are coming through right now at this time. And to see this firmament, you know, video of the firmament, and people who say there is no God, and it's just the most ignorant thing you could ever hear. There's so many miracles, millions of miracles happening simultaneously, and Yahweh is so brilliant at what he does that he's fooled people to think he doesn't even exist because he's created a world that works so flawlessly. It's an awesome concept when you stop and really think about it. Millions of miracles happening simultaneously because that's how he's designed this world to work. And of course, it's being destroyed at a record pace right now. But that doesn't matter. He's going to take care of all that, Israel. We don't need to focus on Esau's wickedness. We need to focus on the Most High Yahweh's power and majesty right now.
The Most High
And
only.
cling to him with everything we got. Because he's about to come and show out Israel in grand fashion.
Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Pay attention to the red circle. Did you see it? If you didn't, that's quite all right. We're going to replay it. We're going to get... Whoa, look at that. Pay attention. Look at that. Keep looking. Don't look away. This is what it's all about, this entire video. Like an old cash register, look at the way this thing comes into our enclosed system. And then right back out. Just out of this, like, sort of gel wall. If plasma can be described as something like gel, then it all makes sense. Now remember, the ancients described the firmament as molten glass, hammered out almost like a hammered bracelet. We've seen the depictions, we've heard the stories, but this is as close and as clear to the firmament as I've ever seen. And this is one of the most amazing pieces of footage in existence. Notice that there's other things that are happening right around the same area. Now, I've flipped it for your viewing pleasure so that we could see it a little closer and get as close as humanly possible. Notice the strange patterns and movements that these things take. It's this type of footage that makes me so excited to do the kind of videos that we do here on the channel. Like, I mean, look at these things. This is amazing. Now, for a second, you actually even forget that this is just the black of the sky, the night sky. This looks like the surface of an actual planet or celestial object. Now, even the brightest object right there looks like it's sitting on top of a T3RB. Watch these quote-unquote stars or objects phase in and out of existence, coming to and from the enclosed system. This is not something you can make up. This isn't even something I could imagine a 3D animator or, what have you could even remotely begin to create that's believable. You know, you can see patterns, you can see reflections, you can see materials shining off of the black of the night sky. There's something more to this, guys. The firmament is not what we've been taught. Well, we haven't been taught much about it, so we're just piecing this out together, but you can see why I'm so excited about this. Now, as I was watching UFO Vini's material, I'm noticing things he's not noticing, like this clip right here. How these different stars, whether they're being made or they're just traveling within system to system, dimension and dimension, our closed system isn't that closed. There's certain things, probably at a certain frequency, electromagnetically, are able to come and go freely as they please. Now, as we've seen this UFO and the size of it, we can compare them to these quote-unquote stars or distant suns and galaxies, you can see the size comparison. Now, there's no way this star is a distant sun or a galaxy or even a planet when it's 1/3 of the size of this ship. Now look at these guys. Notice how the stars get batted out of the way. These stars are not what we think either. Maybe they're just focal points in the sky. Maybe there's something that these ships can't even see as they're traveling past. Maybe, just maybe, everything you know is wrong. Guys, this is so interesting. This is the kind of stuff that keeps my blood flowing. I really think we've unlocked something here. I think that we have really data dumped some useful information to our heads for once, all right? And I'm glad I could bring it to you, and I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am, because I have goosebumps. Now, you can't deny it. As you're looking at this video clip right here in front of your face, it looks like the surface of a black planet. And hypothetically speaking, it possibly could be. There's many theories of the black sun and everything, the Big Bang theory that comes out of a black hole, because energy can never be created, only manipulated, recycled, and used into other energies. Now, we don't have the first inclination or clue on how the universe actually works, so that theory, thought, and idea is probably out the window as well, along with a lot of other things. I mean, if you really want to know how mysterious the universe can be, simply just look into the split beam experiment, which shows us that things in the observable universe act much different than they do when they're not being observed. It's a sneaky little game.
So we're going to speak on this split beam experiment for those of you who have never seen or heard this. We're going to give it a little bit biblical twist to it a little bit. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We're going to let this little cartoon explain what Boogeyman was just speaking about.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit.
Okay, so we can just say, for all intensive purposes, that we're going to say these little marbles are like energy. And this little slit right here, this is going to represent Yahweh. When Israel sends all their energy to
Most
Yahweh,
High.
you can see it makes a little pattern here. Most of it gets through
Most
there
High of
and
Israel
gets to where
only.
it's supposed to go and does what it's supposed to do.
Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make.
So you can see there that intensity is right there. One slit, praying to the Most High God of Israel. That intensity is pretty consistent.
But when we add the second slit, something different happens.
So here, look at what we got here. So here we got Yahweh, Bahashem, this little space in the middle, Yahweh Shai.
Most High
You
only.
can say this is Yahweh, and this is the sun over here. Splitting
The Most High
where
only.
the energy gonna go.
And we know the Most High don't
Splitting
have a
where our
son.
prayers are gonna go. We're gonna split it, and we're gonna see what happens from a scientific point of view.
The top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave. They cancel each other out.
You just hear what he said? The energy cancels each other out. It doesn't perform the same way as when you just send all that energy, all those prayers through one slit. The energy acts in a totally different way.
So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall.
There's an interference pattern. All that energy is scattered and dispersed to many different locations. It doesn't get there with the same intensity or the same pattern.
Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marbles, two bands. What? An interference pattern.
Did you see that, Israel? An interference pattern. You didn't get just two bands. It made a bunch of smaller bands and dispersed it in many different directions. Just by adding one more slit. Say you talk about the Trinity and you add 3 slits, it's going to be even more distortion, more bands, and more interference.
We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. But we get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought, maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So, they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they could interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits and it goes through neither. And it goes through.
So basically, he's saying the energy goes through, it just doesn't go through in the same way, with the same consistency as it would with one slit, where that energy just gets to where it's supposed to go in a concentrated matter. It acts totally different just by adding another slit. All that interference.
Just one, and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of 2 bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched. And it was here that physicists stepped forever into the strange, never world of quantum events. What is matter?
So he doesn't really go into telling you why would that little atom or why would that little piece of energy act different when it was being observed. And I want to give you guys a moment to try to come up with your answer. And I'm going to tell you what I think. Why would that little bit of energy act different when it was observed? Because remember what we spoke about earlier, that thoughts are energy. So when you observe something, you're thinking about that, whatever it is you're observing. That means there's a conscious energy connection being made to whatever you're thinking about. And when there's a conscious connection being made, there's a piece of energy going to it. So it's that energy connection that's being made with what you're observing is making it act different. That's telling us, Israel, when we think about our Father, we pray, we connect with our Father, there's things happening on a quantum level. Because it's energy. And that's how our Father gets our prayers. And that's how he can answer our prayers, is when we're thinking and focusing on him. And that's why in Esau's world of wickedness, he wants us thinking about anything else other than our Father. Because that energy doesn't get to him. And they're just proving it with science right here. How powerful your thoughts are. And they didn't go into that because I don't think they want people knowing how powerful your thoughts are. He just cut it right there. That, you know, when you observe something, it acts different. Okay. But, you know, they didn't get into why. Because there's an energetic connection made. And so it acts differently because there's an outside force influencing it. In these last days, Israel, that's why it's so important for us to focus on our Father. To pull us through this wicked world, to pull us through the tape, lean through the tape and finish strong. Because we're coming right up on the end of this thing.
Bubbles or waves? And waves of what? And what does an observer have to do with any of this? The observer collapsed the wave function simply by observing.
Frequency, light, energy, all of these things, all of these energies are alive and can manipulate themselves, and they can avoid detection. They can avoid being studied in proper fashions. They can give us information and then turn around behind our backs, literally, and act in different manners. So they can play us like fools. Just know that everything around you is alive, everything, and everything is intelligent. Whether it's artificial intelligence left over from source creation, well, that's really a debate for another time. But we're talking about the firmament today, and I think that you'll agree after watching these video clips and my presentation. And a big shout out to UFO Vini, who, whether created or discovered some of the most amazing footage I have ever seen. And I think that a lot of you will agree. I think that we have really uncovered a lot of truths today about the firmament. I think that we can all agree that it is not some molten glass material, but I think what we're dealing with is 100% pure plasma. Plasma that is ionized, alive, and even self-replicating and controllable. Now, who's controlling it, I have no idea, but I do believe that there's a layer of stars that are enclosed within the firmament, as said in the Bible. I also believe that it is the encapsulation device that keeps us enclosed in the system, in the simulation of sorts, if you will. It is the screen, man, for all of the projections for our universe, the simulation, and everything that we know around us. So the observable universe is something that is only something that can be observed, and I believe that when we say that, the things that we are observing are within the dome. So here you have it. This is the best proof I've ever seen. It's some of the only proofs I've ever seen. As you actually do a search on YouTube or even online through Google, and you ask for actual proof of the firmament, it's one of the only things that a lot of people are searching, but no one actually has the evidence. Well, here it is. Take it or leave it, but even non-believers, I think, are going to leave this video believing in it just a little bit more. And people that already believed in it, come on, you got to give me a pat on the back on this one. This was a golden find. But I have to give all the glory, to the creator of one, and two, I have to give it to UFO Vini, because I am not the person that recorded this or even discovered it. Again, this was back in my day when I was a UFO head, big believer, and I was trying to gather up all of the best UFO footage I could possibly find. This was one of those times. Again, I was just trying to search out the cloaking technologies. This is what I came up with. I've been trying to re-find it for 2 or 3 years, and voila, here it is. But, being a little smarter or a little more tainted than I was 2 or 3 years ago,
This looks like two Jakes racing, having a little race. Doesn't that remind you of two Jakes racing right there, Israel?
to me now, we're looking at the firmament, baby, and it is absolutely amazing. Watching these crafts come and go at the drop of a hat, even if they weren't trying to. A lot of these objects, materials, even the stars, appeared as if they weren't even trying to cross over into our dimension or even into our enclosed system, but they did. And when they did, it looks like they caught themselves and slipped right back out of the universe. I mean, absolutely amazing. But, I am dying to hear what people got to say in the comment section. So please, let's start a dialogue here, people. Let's go crazy. Blow up the comment section. I'm going to let these video clips roll, and then I've got an amazing video clip at the end that I've really got to show you. So enjoy, and then we'll check back in a few more minutes.
So thank you for that, Boogeyman and UFO Vini. Of course, I'll leave the links down below. So we're just going to look at this image right here. We're not going to pay too much attention to it. All they got these planets and names up here. We're just looking at this depiction of something closer to what the Earth plane looks like. You can see this. This is the one we're in right here. So we're just going to focus on this right here. But what Boogeyman was saying is these chariots are out here in this area, and they're coming through, back and forth, coming into our little enclosed system, right up here, doing their thing. They can go out here if they have the correct vibration. Logic would tell us that this is a different vibration than this right here, maybe. And this one might be even different out here. But we won't worry about that. We got to focus on our area right here. We're going to focus on our area. And you can see you got the ice walls right here surrounding the Earth plane. And these ice walls are melting in a lot of places. And so you can look at this, and doesn't this remind you of something? This looks like a stadium, just like some of the enclosed stadiums that we have today. This is our enclosed system where we got our kinfolk coming in from distant places, coming through the firmament to be a part of our ceremony in here. They know we in the last act. They already know how it's going to go, but they still get some satisfaction and gratification to watch in real time with us, as they see who is going to make it through the graduation, who's going to make it out of this wicked world, who's followed the directions of the Most High God of Israel. So they're coming in from all places to be a part
The
of this
Most High
ceremony
only.
in our little stadium, our little world right here. And a lot of them have jobs to do for the Most High God of Israel.
The Most High.
So that's what we're just going to look at, this little area. This is what our little world looks like. Esau likes to put out there that we live on a globe, but no, water sits flat. We live on this, earth plane here. That's how this goes. But the energy does make a globe circle. Like if this torus field was complete, it actually goes down below and makes a globe energy field. So that part is correct. But yeah, it looks like a stadium. I'm going to show you some pictures of a stadium to show. Look at this. And this even looks like a huge chariot too. I mean, that's not done by mistake. They're poking fun at us to show we live in an enclosed system. It looks just like this. Some people even call our earth plane a huge chariot. It's a chariot that's alive, but we ain't going to play semantics. Call it a planet, whatever you want to call it, but it's an alive, enclosed system that it's our school room, that Yahweh has put us here to learn certain things and to hopefully learn what we need to learn and move on. That's the Superdome. I think I have one more stadium. There's another stadium here, same thing. You ice wall here. We got a firmament here. We're just living in a smaller version of these sporting stadiums. I mean, living in a larger version of these sporting stadiums. And so, strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, this was he, whom we had sometimes in derision and proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How was he numbered among the children of God, and among his lot is among the saints? How are these black folks, God's chosen people? Society has told us that these people are nothing. We've treated these people like they're nothing for as long as we can remember. Hollywood has shown us that these people are nothing. You can barely even see these people in any to figure some things out. And even the stuff that's going on in China, very heavy, but there's a huge Chinese population in Africa that doesn't seem to be affected